Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Tech Tuesday. My name is Dr. Haifa Maamar. I am the Director of Emerging Technologies here at Full Sail University. And today we are live in the Fortress at Full Sail University, and we're streaming live on YouTube, LinkedIn, and Facebook. Today's topic is a topic that I enjoy a lot because I did my PhD on augmented reality for military training. And so we're going to talk about how augmented reality is used to train fighter pilots up in the sky. This is, amazing. And we're going to talk about this company, Red6, a revolutionizing company, an augmented reality company that's building military training, and they had redefined the limits of how fighter pilots are going to interact with training information. And to talk about all this, I have a special guest with me here. She is a dear friend of mine. She is a Full Sail alumni. She is a Hall of Fame member. And she is the Vice President of, hold on with me because it's a long title, Vice President of Strategic Engagement and Business Development at Red6. I got that right?
You did. You did.
We have Sheena Fowler with us. Hi, Sheena.
Hi. Thank you for having me.
Thank you for coming. Thank you for accepting our invitation. I'm really looking forward to this episode today and to talk about everything that Red6 is doing. So before we go into Red6, how about you introduce yourself to our audience and everyone and talk about your background?
Yep. So I am Sheena Fowler. I am the Vice President of Strategic Engagements and Business Development for Red6, and I'm also the Orlando site lead, which means this is my beautiful office that I really, when you look at it, was responsible for courting into the Orlando region. I spent the last 12 years of my life in economic development before I joined Red6, and I served there as the Vice President of Innovation and Technology. So I recruited tech companies, and I really operated at the same time as the Orlando Film Commissioner for 12 years as well. So I've been obsessed with the intersection of technology and innovation and entertainment for a very long time. But we're here in Orlando, which is the largest modeling, simulation, and training sector in the United States, with over $6.5 billion worth of simulation contracts. So I was constantly seeing this tie between entertainment, technology, and defense, and pulling the strings and seeing how the ecosystem continuously could connect. So when I found Red6, I just fell head over heels in love with the capability of progressing augmented reality to the ends of the earth to see what we could do, and seeing different worlds in which we could take it in, not only in defense, but beyond, and I'm sure we'll get into that.
Yes, we'll get into that. So before we go into how you got involved with Red6, how about we talk about what's Red6?
Yeah.
Like, what do they do? And we will go in details later on about the technology, but I want kind of a general idea of what is the product here.
Really easily, Red6 is the most advanced augmented reality platform that exists on the market today. When you look at augmented reality, it's traditionally been used, and the big companies that have been working on it, for wearables on the ground at walking speeds. Well, we said, what if that wasn't our problem to solve? What if we had an unlimited power source like a plane, and we could have an onboard compute unit, and we could go 500 miles an hour and pull 5 to 9 Gs? What could we do then? And so what we did was we created this extraordinary system, and it's a Red6 platform combined of ATARS, which is the augmented reality platform, Carbon, which is the network, and then a debrief tool on the back end that allows you to see augmented reality at high speeds and bright lights. And it's the most incredible thing you've ever seen. The best way to see it's in a plane. So it's really amazing. It's really amazing once we can get somebody up there, because it's mind-boggling to see when you take the barriers, and I think all companies that are working in augmented reality are facing the same barriers: a battery life and compute unit. How do you get over that? But the other thing,
when you take it to the sky, we're dealing with so many different challenges at this point. Like that is you put that on the side, and now we're dealing with other
We've got all new things that we can solve and play with, and it's really exciting to see how we just jumped ahead and started innovating in that space when we didn't let the barriers that were were really troubling some other companies.
Oh, this is impressive. So I know you have a funny story about how did you find out about like Red 6? I heard this story so many times, and like, every time I really enjoy hearing it. But I want you to share that story with our audience of how did you find out about Red 6? How did you bring them to Orlando, which is big. Like for us to have a company like Red 6 with this cutting-edge technology being here in Orlando in our ecosystem, that's amazing. So, and all that is thanks to you. So I want you to like share.
I played a part in it.
Yeah.
It was my job to recruit tech companies, right? And I was in Vancouver at the VRAR Global Summit, and there were some really extraordinary, great companies on the main stage, but knowing Orlando in our market, we have this modeling, simulation, and training community. So I wandered down to the defense room, which, to be honest, was a smaller stage. And I was like, okay, well, we'll see what's happening here. And as I walked into the room, somebody started their presentation. It was Dan Robinson, the CEO and founder of Red 6. And as he started to tell his story and I started to understand the technology, I about fell out of my seat. And the way that Dan describes it, still to this day, slightly embarrassing, but really proves to my persistence, he said I was like right here as soon as he got off stage, like right in his face. And I told him point blank, I said, I think you've created something really special here, and your next office will be in Orlando. That's just the way it's going to be. And he gave me, as any good CEO would, to the end of the door. You know, we walked to the end of the room to pitch him, and if you're not perfecting that pitch skill in 30 seconds or less, you need to start working on it now.
I love
because
it.
it's
Yes.
real.
Yes.
I had to the end of the room to really say everything that I needed to say, and I handed him my card and I said, I'm going to need you to absorb this, but it's going to happen. You'll be moving and expanding your business to Orlando because we have the most sophisticated engineering team that's going to help benefit your company, and we're going to see it come to life. And so 3 years later, it worked.
Amazing. But for me, like I know we talked about this before, is that why would a company or startup company want to move to a different spot or a different city or a different state? That would be interesting for our audience to understand why they were thinking about Orlando or Florida or other states to begin with.
Economic development is an interesting game, and when I was here, let's be honest, I studied film and entertainment business. I'm a former television producer, so it's an interesting journey to get into economic development, let alone to be at a tech company. But when companies get to a certain size, they're often going to want to look for a lower cost center of excellence. So usually what I was looking for in tech companies for Orlando was after they hit their Series A, they were probably going to start to expand their workforce. And if you can find a concentration of talent that is high quality, that meets their needs, which for us is this intersection of game development, experience design, modeling, simulation, and training, all of those things that Orlando really excels at.
And the ecosystem of like all these companies, but also the universities as well. Like
you have not only experienced talent, but you have this extraordinary pipeline of students being fed into the system that have access to internships and talks and different things and being able to participate in mentorship programs. I mean, the culture of talent that exists in the Orlando region around experience design, whether that's game development, defense, medical simulation, it doesn't matter. It's really rich. And so the thing about Orlando is everybody assumes it's just theme parks.
Yeah.
And that was the big thing to get around, is to help everyone understand. I mean, even those in the military don't fully recognize the power of the Orlando region's modeling, simulation, and training system here. We are one of the only areas in the United States where all branches of the military volunteer to come together to collaborate. And I think that volunteer piece is very important because it's not a mandate. They choose to work together because they know it creates a better product for the warfighter. And at the end of the day, Orlando produces some of the most extraordinary training platforms for our military that really help them train to be in any situation. Because at the end of the day, we have to create immersive experiences.
Exactly.
And that's all this is.
So that's a nice segue to my next question. So let's go back to the platform itself. And I know that it's a training for military. And we know that, especially when it comes to the Air Force and training fighter pilots, we are dealing with so many different challenges. And I made research here, so I'm going to be it's like I had to educate myself more. Like, I need numbers. I need to understand how this works. So from my understanding, and correct me if I'm wrong, but then every time that we're training these fighter pilots, if we have one pilot, we will have other pilots. We need to have other pilots go up in the sky to train that one pilot. So cost is impressive. I know that it said, from my numbers, it says that it's $40,000 per hour every time a pilot is in the air.
It's pretty wild and all of this was new to me as well, right?
Yeah.
To understand the cost and the risk on just their everyday activity.
Yeah.
This is just something that's very common for them to do, but we not only have a pilot shortage.
Exactly, I was going to say there is a shortage of pilots, shortage of airplanes and aircrafts.
We have to be prepared. And knowing that we have these types of advanced technologies that we're using for entertainment and play purposes, to not use them for this type of training is just, it's a shame. And so it's exciting, and that was one of the things that I was most attracted to about Red 6, is it wasn't just augmented reality. It wasn't just, let's create the next cool AR tool. It was, we have a clear purpose, and the answer is augmented reality. So now, what do we do with that? And how do we advance that technology to serve our purpose? Because we are laser focused on creating the most advanced training platform, and augmented reality is the vehicle in which we do it.
So let's talk about that. And so, given all these challenges that the Air Force and military are facing, Red 6 came, and then Dan Robinson came, and he said, and him and his team, they have the solution, which is the platform that you guys implemented. So we're going to have a video playing here, but I want you to tell me more about this technology. If you explain how is augmented reality being used, what kind of headset, what kind of engine. I know there is artificial intelligence there. Yeah. So if you can walk us through, and I know you're not going to be able to share everything. Of course, that's your technology, but at least if you can help us understand this.
Yeah. So, I think a big thing to understand, and as you look at some of these images, something I want you to understand is the way that we capture the footage that you're seeing now is we put an iPhone between the eye of the pilot and that lens that you see there, which is our proprietary EVE system. It's the ATAR system. EVE is the Enhanced Visual Environment. And it's the widest field of view and brightest augmented reality lens that exists on the market today.
Can we hold on there?
Yeah.
I want you to explain, because when we're dealing, when we are in the sky, field of view is big. And you need to have a headset that has not a narrow, but
most
also
of them right now are about here.
Yes.
Right? So, and it's fine for the uses that they're being developed for. But when you look at a fighter pilot, they're using all of their field of view.
And then they're flipping, so probably it's creating more things. Yeah.
So that just wasn't going to do it for us. So ultimately, we had to create our own hardware.
Okay.
We had to create our own headset, which is no easy feat, but the founders of Red 6, Glenn Snyder and Daniel Robinson, are extraordinary people that are fearless. And so they found the best in optics, and we created our own EVE and ATAR system that enables the augmented reality. And the big number, nits is brightness. We had to hit 10,000 nits, which is extraordinary when you look at the differentiation between some existing AR headsets on the market and what we're using here. We can look directly into the sun. We can look directly into a cloud, and you're still going to see that asset. Amazing. None of this has been edited or augmented for the video purposes. We want to show you exactly what you see when you look out the system today. If there's a little bit of jiggle, it's because the pilot's operating the plane at the same time. What you're seeing here is we created an aircraft carrier, because at the same time that the Air Force is doing this type of training, the Navy lands on this essential postage stamp, right? So what if you could land on a virtual aircraft carrier while you're still hundreds of miles in the sky? And really reducing the risk. And it's amazing when you get former military or active military to fly with the system and see it for the first time. These are people that have spent 30, 40 years in the industry.
Done this their whole life.
This is their world. They know it. And to watch them pull the headset off when they land, to say, that tricked me. I really thought that plane was there. I really thought we were getting too close to that aircraft carrier. And it's fun to hear our pilots, because the plane that we fly them is a Berkut, so it's a two-seater. The pilot's in the front and the passengers in the back that's demoing the product. And the pilot will get maybe a little too close to the digital asset, and you'll see somebody flinch, right? Because they think it's real. And that is the purpose of augmented reality. That is the purpose, to make such an immersive experience that you forget the tech. The tech should melt. And now you're left with an experience that makes you feel like you're in the real situation, and that is how you increase readiness. That's how you really start to get it. And it's not only the ATAR system, which enables augmented reality, that's the gateway to the augmented world. If you think about that, then Carbon is the network, the mesh that keeps it all together, right? And it's platform agnostic. We've made this that we know our audience, the military. We have to create things that they're going to be able to integrate into existing systems. And so we've created a really nimble network that allows for this high fidelity information to be passed back and forth between the different entities. And then we had to create a debrief tool, because ultimately you're not going to advance readiness if you can't fully understand what you actually just did. And so now the pilot, who's the trainee, and the instructor can go into a virtual reality scenario and look at a 3D model of their sortie, which is their flight. And they can understand from all aspects and scenarios what was happening. They can look at, one of my favorite features, you can flip, and so you can look at what it would look like from the cockpit of the enemy and what you did. So you can actually now see what you looked like in the air for the first time and start to understand it, because the whole purpose of this system is to advanced readiness. It's not to create cool tech. That's just the fun stuff that we get to do in the process of it. But it's to make sure that we are serving our warfighter with technology that will help them be most prepared when time comes for it.
And when it comes to the engine, so I guess you're using...
Unreal, yeah. We're really pleased with that partnership. They've been phenomenal partners to help us create this magic in the sky. And especially when you start to see how we're pushing beyond the edges of what's capable. You know, when the company was first formed, this wasn't possible. And Daniel Robinson, our CEO and founder, originally was with the Royal Air Force, and then he came and flew for the US Air Force. And he knew there was a better way. And he saw, once he had retired from the military, he saw a commercial for castor oil. And it was an exercise where there were two cars. One was in the UK, one was in California. And they raced on a virtual track with molten lava and all the fun, fantastical things that you can do in a virtual track. And essentially, the car became the joystick, right? But it was a closed track. They were in virtual reality. It's very cool, but it showed that it was capable to have this type of high-impact networking, right, within this industry. And so Dan found the person who did that was Glenn Snyder, and he said, you know, I need that in the sky. So I need it to be augmented reality. And Glenn said, no one's done that before, and I would need somebody who has a plane to figure it out. And so, thankfully, Dan was building that plane, and they tested it out, and they figured out how to make these high-impact images work at 500 miles an hour in the sky in bright lights at high speeds with this really extraordinary system for augmented reality.
Amazing. So, I mean, I have so many questions at this point. Like, as you're talking, I'm like, oh, we have to talk about this, and we have to talk about this. Artificial intelligence, I would say, also is big in here, because we're talking about like a specific training for the pilot, like depending on the scenarios, as you said, right?
Yeah. So we can run it a few different ways. It can be a pre-programmed scenario. One of the things that you saw in that video was a refueling exercise, and so that's pretty standard. You have to be able to do air-to-air refueling in this industry, and so it's very expensive to get the tanker out and to schedule the hours and move people around. There's a lot of logistics involved in it. But we have a tanker, a KC-46, over Southern California that's doing a loop. And so you can go up and you can do your air-to-air refueling in the sky. And that would be an ideal situation for the Air Force to use this. You know, it's pre-programmed, they go up, they get their hours, they do so many, and they're good to go. You can have somebody running it from the ground, so the adversary can be run on a sim, connecting the sim on the ground with the sim in the sky. Which is a really fun activity. Imagine the possibilities with that. Or you can turn on the artificial intelligence, and now it's going to understand your profile as a pilot, and it's going to push you. Because I think something to remember, the best use case of this technology is advanced fighter pilot training. And so this isn't the basics. These are really phenomenal pilots, you know, the best of the best. And how do you train the best? You give them a tool that meets them where they are. And you put them in their environment in which they do their best work, and it challenges them with data, right? It's not just a perspective on how you performed.
Exactly.
It's science that meets them at the peak performance that they are. They're really extraordinary people that put themselves in these crazy scenarios, and so it's amazing to have a technology that really is capable of keeping up with them.
That's amazing. I remember last year, or like 2 years ago, where Dan actually was here on at Full Sail, when you guys like brought him, trying to convince him about being here in Orlando. And I was talking to him, and I know Rob Cato was with me. Like, we were like, as Dan is explaining the technology, and he's like, yeah, I did this. And like, again, I did my PhD on this. So like, for me, I understand the technology behind everything that he's talking. But he's like, I did it. I'm like, this is, I'm like, how? Exactly. We're talking in the sky. We're not talking like on the ground. Like, yes, this is, I can understand all the challenges and so on, but like when you take it up, there are so many different other challenges that arise there. And so I remember, like, I was like, even afterwards, I'm like, just thinking more about this. It's like, is this really happening? And I mean, I know it's happening. I saw so many videos. I mean, the demos that you guys have, all these different articles, and I mean, I talk to you. Whenever I see Dan, like, he talks more about like all the new stuff. So it's impressive, I would say.
We have a really phenomenal team of experts and tinkers and dreamers that have come together on a project that seems near impossible. Yeah. Right? We're creating tech that doesn't exist.
But that's innovation. Like, I mean,
it's
like,
beautiful.
It's beautiful. Like, innovation is, like, for me, I enjoy these things.
We have some of the best conversations where you get some of these people, these extraordinary technicians, that just start daydreaming about things, and you're like, wait, can we do that? And then I'll come, since I'm on the business development side, I'll come to them like, would it be possible we did this? And they'll come back to me in a week, and they did it. I was like, wait, that was just a thought. And they're like, yeah, but I couldn't sleep the other night, and so I did it. It's just really people performing at the peak of their game. And when you put them in a culture like Red 6 has created that fosters innovation, that trusts the employee, that gives them the room to breathe and create and be experts in our field, but at the same time, we foster a lot of the beautiful things that come through the military of being honest with each other. We debrief, and we debrief immediately, right? And we don't take it personally. We are constantly focused on how to improve. We are all in this together, and it's amazing the culture that Dan has created at Red 6 and Glenn and the leadership team, just to see what we're doing at such a fast pace is really incredible. I mean, I was the first Florida employee, and now I have upwards of 20 in a real office.
Wow.
Here in Orlando, which is really exciting because the last time we were here, it was just a daydream of mine to get them
I visited your office, and I'm like, oh, wow, this is amazing. Okay, so Dan Robinson, in a recent I was going to say interview. Now, actually, in the Disney demo day, like in the video, and we're going to talk about that later, he mentioned that Red 6 developed the first metaverse in the sky. So can you elaborate on this? And I want us to talk about this because, you know, like, especially here with the military and education, and metaverse is this word that's like now receiving lots of buzz, and we all, or like we cannot agree, or we agree to not agree on a definition that like makes sense to everyone. So like you, when you research things, you will find that there are so many definitions, and everyone, I mean, everyone like sometimes they say, oh, well, this existed a long time ago, and others like, no, well, this is the difference. So I wanted to understand from your perspective and Red 6 perspective, how is this, how did you guys create the metaverse in the sky?
Well, it is a combination of some of the things that you said. In the modeling, simulation, and training world, the elements of a metaverse have been used, tried and true for years, right? It's the combination of some of these foundational technologies that we've been using. So the way that Red 6 defines a metaverse is an augmented reality metaverse, which is quite different from what you've seen in the movies and any fiction that's talked about it, and all of the crazy things. When I talk to my friends about a metaverse, they're like, what are you doing? How is this possible? It's completely different. Take away all of those things that you've seen in the movies and start to understand some foundational principles. It's the real world with a digital world assets laid on top of it that you can interact with live, and then it's persistent in nature. So you're able to continue to interact with it. It's going to follow you from the first interaction to the next interaction, and we're able to manipulate that augmented world to create something brand new, which is that mixed reality experience. In this instant, we're using it for training, but it can be used for entertainment. It can be used for all sorts of things. But we're working on an augmented metaverse, an augmented world, as opposed to some other companies that are working on virtual reality metaverse that encompass an entirely different set of standards and problems that they're going to encounter.
I'm glad you're making this differentiation, because yes, there is a whole virtual reality metaverse, a digital twin, I would say, like something, or in your case, it's the physical world with the augmented or virtual world, I would say, on top of it. I know that you guys already developed this. Like, you have already this in California,
tested it. And it's, I mean, I think so many of us at Red 6, we come up with these concepts and then we test them, and we're still giddy. You know, we're still in awe of the technology that's unfolding in front of us as we piece together different things. And so the first time that we were able to test out the augmented reality metaverse, we had two planes, we fly Berkuts, right? And both were wearing the ATAR system, and they both engaged with a surface-to-air missile at the same time, and the perspective worked. And they were able to engage as they would as pilot and wingman, and everything was able to be as if it were real. And that's, like I said before, the point of this technology is for the tech to melt away and just to react to the experience. And when you saw that work for the first time, we're like, okay, now we can scale this. Now we can look at multiple physical assets with multiple digital assets and start to play different scenarios out so that you can start to expand in what Dan likes to talk about as campaign level training. So not only you're going to have experiential training, right, just single exercises that you work on, but you can have night 1 of the war, you can have night 2 of the war, and continue to expand upon that. And I think what's beautiful about leveraging augmented reality for this type of training is that it's digital, so it's nimble. If we need to update something based on live circumstances, it's not nearly as difficult as some things where it's a physical training that you're having to integrate. But it's the military has been working with some really phenomenal technology called LVC, Live Virtual and Constructive Training, and most of the bigs have been working around that for a long time. And we're the solution to that, to close that LVC ecosystem. So you have the live plane, you have the virtual element, which you would see on your radar, but usually when they're going through these exercises, when they looked up, they would have to imagine the asset coming up. We now we close that ecosystem by giving them the within visual range visual, so that it's that whole ecosystem of live planes, virtual and constructive assets to create a nimble and effective training solution.
That's amazing. So one main, I would say, crucial point here in everything that you guys are doing is the tracking. Tracking of the aircraft, to tracking the headset or the pilot or the head of the pilot, to tracking the eye. So making sure that like you have that to be able to know where you're going to put your digital assets in the world as they're flying and flipping and so on.
When you're doing barrel rolls at multiple Gs, the tracking becomes a pretty important element of what you're working on. And it's extraordinary, the head tracking and the fusion, sensor fusion that they've created an entirely new system. And that's a big part of the special sauce of what Red 6 did.
I know you're not going to share, so I'm not going to push there. So now that you've created this platform, and I know there are so many people who, I mean, I saw different videos where people tried your platform. They went and you demoed it. But I'm interested in knowing, did you guys have any of those fighter pilots go through a demo? I mean, I am more interested in, like, did you get that SME, the subject matter expert feedback of, like, knowing, are you doing the things? I mean, yes, Dan is an ex-fighter pilot, so I know that he's a SME, but also knowing someone who's now like a SME and like working in that field, so having any feedback from them.
Yeah, I think it's great because we have both, like you said, we have in-house SMEs, subject matter experts. If you look at the folks that I work with, they all have their call signs. Uncle is my boss.
Nice.
Freak. T-Mac, Opie, Rebel, the list goes on, who are all of varying levels of expertise and varying levels of when they retired from the military. But they're all top performers in their field that know people still. And so we've leveraged that type of feedback both on the level of just conversation of what would you do in this situation, how would you react to that, to getting them to come out and demo and understand the technology. And it's been really amazing to work through some of the programs that we have. We've taken advantage of a program called SIBR, Small Business Innovation Research Grants. So we've been working through some of those that had helped progress the technology at Red 6. And in that program, you get to have people come out and test and trial the technology at varying levels. So it's exciting to see where it's come over the years. I remember the first time that I flew with it, it's a completely different experience today. The texture and the richness and the color are completely different from when I was first flying with it, where it was still a bit opaque. You could see through it, and you were still amazed by the fact that it was working. But now the fact that it's an even richer experience, it's phenomenal. And that is really the fact that we can innovate this quickly is because we have in-house SMEs, is because every single step of the way, we are flying almost every single day and testing the product. And our co-founder, Glenn Snyder, has a gut of steel because he sometimes codes in the backseat. So they're flying, they're looking and they're like, that didn't work. And they'll go in and they'll just fix it. And our engineering team is just phenomenal at what they're able to do. And it's that combination of user and engineer that's creating a phenomenal product. And when you get a sync and you find a way that those two types of personalities can work together and blend and share feedback harmoniously, you get a really phenomenal product like Red 6 is.
Of course you do, yes. So one thing, as we're talking, of course, we're talking about fighter pilots, we're talking about military training. One thing that needs to stay in the back of your head, and I know it does, is safety. So I was looking at some data, and I was looking at the risk of human lives when it comes to military training. So from US active duty military between 2006 and 2021. So for those, we have the deaths that are due to accidents. We're talking about 7,000 deaths. And then for those who were killed in action, we're talking about almost 3,000. So this is a huge number. I mean, and so, of course, having this technology there is, of course, like we're trying to make sure that our pilots, fighter pilots, are trained, they know what they're doing, they're really experiencing this, and I mean, having a real experience or a realistic training, you know, so that they're ready once they go to combat. But of course, safety is still a big thing. You need to make sure that, like, we're creating our technology, we're accountable, like, and like for whatever we're creating, and there's liability there, of course. So
it's been at the forefront of every step of the way. The reason that we're creating this platform is for the safety of the warfighter. It is for the safety of everyone that engages in this, because it is a risk every time that you practice it, let alone when they go into live combat. And so we really wanted to make sure we created a product that is going to be user-friendly from the first second that they start to engage with it. So everything from the way that it fits on the face to, does it add any extra weight? Because these helmets that Air Force pilots wear already are strenuous on the neck. And we're currently, through our SIB, integrating into a T-38 right now, a trainer. And we're going through the ejection safety training, and we're going through all of these different things. So we now get to prove how safe this product is based on the fact that we've had so many flight hours with experienced pilots that tell us this is a great product that I would use. I would be happy to use this. This would enhance my skills. And so it's exciting to see we're getting to the point in our company life cycle where we're getting that validation, that third-party validation that it really is a great product.
I love this. So as we're talking about this platform that you guys developed, of course, this is to train. There are different purposes that I see here, and correct me. So obviously it's to train U.S. Air Force and fighter pilots on different scenarios. And as you said, like you will have, like I forgot how you called it, like campaign
level training.
Campaign level training, yes. And then, so you have that portion of it, but then also it can work for recruiting. Like you can look at from that third, I would say, like part or of your platform where you're looking at the data now.
Yeah.
Like then you can see how these fighter pilots are performing, and then you can have specific trainings for them to train them on a specific thing, right?
It's exciting because it really empowers those that are already in leadership in these situations where they're trying to determine who flies together, how does it work, are they as precise on night 3 as they were on night 1? And that's an ever-evolving puzzle that these extraordinary people solve on the fly, in the moment. And now having the opportunity and honor to work with so many people that have done this for a living, the way that their minds think are just phenomenal, to see the precision of decision making. So we're developing tools that they would use, right? We're developing tools that empower them to just make these decisions faster and easier and more precise. We're not adding to another step in another cog in the wheel of what they have to do. It's something that merely enhances the entire process. And when you look at the as recruitment into the U.S. Air Force, and frankly, this will work for all branches of the military as we continue to develop down the road, because ultimately we'll connect land, sea, and air. And that's a real goal, is to get that full mission reversal.
Like, yes, are you guys,
right?
Yeah.
Which is very exciting to see that the technology is finally going to meet the demands of what our U.S. military needs. And so we're able to look at the fact that those that are coming in, digital natives, are expecting this type of graphic. They're expecting this type of experience. And anything less than would be a distraction. You know, and it's amazing. I've been so privileged in the Orlando region to be around so many phenomenal leaders in the modeling, simulation, and training space. And I remember when I first was getting into MS&T, Joan Baptiste, who was running the National Center for Simulation that is headquartered here in Orlando, was telling me some of his first training was with a folding chair and a piece of cardboard and a Sharpie. And that was his training experience. And to now see that we have gone from cardboard and those extraordinary pilots did the best they could with the tools they had. Let's put some really phenomenal high-tech tools that's just going to take them even farther in their readiness and preparedness.
That's amazing. Okay, so also another thing is that part of this technology, and I know with a startup, but specifically with using augmented reality and this cutting-edge technology up in the sky with your own network, with your own headset and everything, there are so many challenges, and I'm sure you have, like, I mean, that's like the rule. Yep. So how about, like, you just tell us about, like, one, I mean, like, we're not going to be talking, but, like, one of the challenges that you experienced, whether, and we're going to talk about how you used your product in a different industry, but one challenge that you experienced and that keeps coming back and how you guys addressed it.
Yeah, I think it's interesting to think that we ultimately wanted to start as just a software company. And when you're creating a company or when you're working with technology, your expertise will lead you down a path that you assume is, okay, I know what I'm doing, and this is how we're going to execute it. And it wasn't until they got into the field and they started to trial the product that they understood they needed to be both a hardware and a software company. That's a very difficult and expensive decision to make.
Yes.
And so I think it's extraordinary to see how companies need to be nimble and need to be able to pivot. And without the leadership of our company to say, okay, I know this was the path we were going on, but we need to take this diversion and take the time to get this right. And I know it's an impossible task that we're gonna jump into this, oh, we're gonna create our own augmented reality lens field, but we did, and we did it right. And it's a product that works exactly the way that we need it to.
Perfect.
And we've brought in some phenomenal partnerships and leaders along the way to create really top-edge optics. And hopefully we're advancing the field in and of itself of augmented reality.
That's amazing. Okay, so now we're going to go to a different topic. So I remember last year when I saw you at Synapse.
Yes.
And we were, you were actually in the middle of like, we briefly talked, but like you were like, I have this opportunity, I cannot talk about it. It's with Disney, I'm working on this thing, it's impressive, but I will talk about it more later. Yeah. And I'm like, I've been like wanting to know more about like that. I remember like it was a big deal for you.
Yeah.
Like I mean, it's impressive from like the pieces that I got there. It was a really amazing experience. So do you want us to watch the video first and you talk about it, or you want to talk about it?
Let me set it up and real quick. So Disney does this phenomenal program called the Disney Accelerator, and they accept a handful of companies. I mean, handful.
We're talking six in this case, yes.
Companies that they bring into their ecosystem, and
6 company over like.
It was from July to November.
Okay. And this is the whole U.S.?
In that time frame, it was international.
International too?
Yeah.
Okay.
And so in that time frame, we pitched over 180 executives from all divisions of Disney. And it's really, they do a wonderful job with this program. And David Min, who you'll see in the video, and Bonnie Rosen, who run the program, they helped us understand how to take our technology, communicate it to the Disney executives. And as a result, we got to brainstorm, we got to imagine, and we got to trial a few things that we maybe wouldn't have had the opportunity to trial before. But I'll let you take a look at the video and see for yourself.
Okay, let's watch the video.
Disney's greatest strength is its ability to use its storytelling and innovation to create entirely new worlds. From sound being added to make our characters come to life, to adding depth to our animation with the multiplane camera. Disney has always pioneered technology to get you closer and closer to the story. And now our next company, Red 6, puts you in the story.
Hey guys, I'm Dan Robinson, CEO and founder of Red 6, and we have built a metaverse in the sky. Let's meet my co-founder, Glenn Snyder. Hey Glenn, who we got flying with us today?
We've got some incredible recruits coming in today.
All right, let's do this. And just like magic.
Red 6 created the world's first outdoor metaverse up in the sky, and that allows real pilots and real airplanes to go up into the sky as they're actually flying and enter an augmented reality world where they can train and interact and fly against whichever assets they want, and it's all rendered through our patented display technology.
We've learned how to track the aircraft and track the user in a way where we can fully immerse someone into augmented reality, and that really takes the field of view that you're used to in this really narrow augmented reality world all the way out into your peripherals, and we do that with enough brightness for us to look out over the clouds and directly into the sun and still be able to be in that immersive world.
Today we are hosting Disney for a very special Star Wars themed Red 6 experience. We've created a Star Wars universe up in the sky. So when they go up to fly, they're going to enter and fly against TIE fighters with X-Wing fighters as wingmen. They're going to take fuel off the Millennium Falcon. They're going to see Death Stars. They're going to see Star Destroyers, maybe even a couple of suns up there.
All right, well, if you think that's cool, you've just begun. Here we go. Check that out, brother. Pretty amazing. Pretty amazing. Awesome. Red 5, break away, break away. I mean, you can see the level of detail in there. Yeah, that's amazing. I mean, how much fun is this?
He seems like a high-value target.
Yeah, absolutely. You got the Millennium Falcon and the X-Wing. Heck, you.
I'm John Snoddy. I'm with Imagineering and lead the technology and innovation groups there.
I'm Rob Brado. I'm the Chief Creative Officer of Industrial Light and Magic, and I work in creative innovation on the Lucasfilm side as well. We've been talking about what augmented reality would do for, well, for you in parks, for us in studio for a long time, but I guess we're starting to see the pieces come together. Obviously, this is a prototype, but I mean, I guess you can imagine applying it in attractions. I'm thinking about ways this kind of augmented reality experience might layer on to the theatrical experience or in the home.
And I think it's going to be incredible to take, partner with people like Red 6 and Imagineering and ILM to really start to think about creating these augmentations to our world that I think can really bring our characters completely to life.
And getting to interact with our characters, interact with our stories. I mean, when we are able to share more of what we're seeing here with our teams, they're going to take this and do all sorts of interesting creative things with it. It starts making you think about whole new ways that this kind of technology can bring virtual worlds alive into our world.
It was way too much fun. I mean,
wow.
The Disney team
wow.
is true. The accelerator program is phenomenal that they gave us access to be able to play like that. But it was, I can't tell you, because few people have done it, but when a TIE fighter pulls up out of your peripheral and then you get in a laser fight and you're flying in the sky, that is a goosebump moment that you can never forget. It was pretty phenomenal to be able to create some of these things. And the roller coaster, I mean, all of these things we did in just a few weeks.
I was going to say, I'm like, how much time did you have to create something like this?
Not much, right? Because there was a lot of coordination on the assets. And also, the accelerator program was great because they were like, please do not overextend your team, on certain things. And so you wanted to be able to show a demo. You wanted to be able to show the technology in the best way without, bankrupting your business for creating something brand new that didn't exist before. So we put our heads together and created some amazing things, and it was really fun to participate and play in the storytelling of it, because usually our fighter pilots are the ones that are dictating the stories of what we go into in our different training exercises. But when it came to Incredibles, I said, hold on, I got this.
That's mine. That's amazing. So what's happening now? Are you guys collaborating? Are there any future plans?
The accelerator process is an ongoing process. So we continue to stay in great communication with them, and certainly procurement within a company like Disney is a long, long journey.
Of course.
So we're just at the beginning of our conversations, and it's been really fun to get to know them and understand how we can better improve our product.
That's impressive. Okay, so let's go back to Orlando here. And now that we understand the technology that you guys are developing, this, I guess what I'm trying to say is, like, can you help our audience understand what kind of skills you're looking for. How can, if a student wants to be part of Red 6 or work in this industry, what kind of areas they're supposed to really focus on?
Yeah, we have amazing opportunities, and certainly please check out red6ar.com because you'll find all of our opportunities there, and we have internships, and there's also just a lot of great content to follow along, both on our website and on social media. But everything augmented reality is a big deal. In the Orlando office, we're really accelerating the advanced debrief tool, Arcade, and so virtual reality assets are a big deal. So being able to harness someone who has experience in that department or even has big ideas on how to contribute to it. But I think the most important thing is having somebody with technical chops that knows how to really meld into a team. This is a team effort. And I think all technology companies are similar to that, but for us, it really is a big deal. You have to be nimble, you have to be cohesive with the team around you and innovate very quickly. So if that's your speed, then we're excited to meet you because we're continuously
That's great. And
growing.
are there any opportunities? So do you have internships or are you guys hiring right now?
They're always ongoing.
Okay.
So
but I know
would
that
check in.
whenever I see them on LinkedIn, I send them to our career
Yes.
development. We're always
I'm always sending them to you.
Yes, and you're sending us as well.
We had a phenomenal intern in our Orlando office, Owens, who's a Full Sail grad. Loved having him on the team, and I got to catch up with him at ITSIC this past year, which is, if you haven't been and you're interested in this space, it's one of the largest modeling, simulation, and training conferences right here in Orlando every November. It's very fun to come and check out, and if you're a student, there's always a student day it's free admission to come and see it. So it was great to catch up with him, but there's a lot of amazing skill sets. I mean, if you think about the way that our technology came to place, we're not all veterans. We're not all defense-based people.
Yeah, you need the software people, so you need your people who have skills in simulation, in visualization, like the SimViz program.
And different
and then the computer science,
from
the gaming as well. Like
gaming and entertainment and the different perspectives, the diversity of perspective really play well for us because that's how we create a better product that has even more user experience viability.
Perfect. Okay, I know we're really over time. I have more questions, but I want to give the opportunity to our audience here. So if you guys have questions, please, you can go to the mic. The mic is over there. You can go, and then we can also take questions from the online. Go ahead. Please introduce yourself. Tell us which program you're in, and then you can ask your question.
Oh yeah, of course. I'm Seth, and I'm in the game development program. And I was also in the military before I came here for 4 years. I was in the Navy. And one question I had was, how are you going about, or do you implement any kind of artificial intelligence into your headsets?
Yeah, absolutely. We've been working with some data sets from DARPA to integrate in to help build the engine that's driving the artificial intelligence, but that is how we think we're going to progress human performance, is being able to run it off of AI and allow that AI to learn from you and train with you and help you accelerate your readiness.
Yeah, because the headsets are mostly for training, but for anyone who's actually in the field, they're not meant for training, so AI could predict enemy aircraft or something.
Exactly. Though you're on the right track because the possibilities are pretty endless once you start to put together all of the different things that are integrated into this ATAR system and the possibilities of what you can do with it. A lot of those are already in our tech stack of where we're going.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. So we have a question from our audience through Facebook, LinkedIn, and YouTube. The first question is: Do you need to ground train pilots on augmented reality before putting them in the air with augmented reality?
Certainly, before every time we put someone up into a demo, there is a safety training, there is a technology training. We go through all of it before they go in and they experience the technology. The really phenomenal thing is it doesn't take much for them to adopt this. there's nothing to do with your hands in order to operate the AR, right? It is operating with you. So everything is built into the headset so that, and most pilots are used to some sort of heads-up display, so it's not a completely foreign experience for them. They're used to being able to access data and information on the visor. Ours is just a much wider landscape than they're used to, which just makes it easier to integrate with.
Thank you. Next question is, does weather impact the augmented reality technology, or can it be used in everything from clear skies to overcast?
Great question. That is one of our favorite things to brag about, is because we can look directly into the sun. We can work in all outdoor environments, night, day, rain or shine. It's a pretty phenomenal product that we were able to create and get to that volume of nits to be able to access the brightness that you needed to be able to impact it. I mean, certainly cloudy skies only makes it easier to see things, right? But it works perfectly in bright light environments as well.
Great. So the next question is Red 6 tech being applied to other military situations like ground or naval combat?
We are consistently exploring opportunities to participate with all branches of the U.S. military and friendlies, right? Any military that is friendly to the United States, wanting to put this technology into anyone that wants to figure out how to implement it into their field. It's exciting to see. You saw the aircraft carrier and some of that footage. That's a naval exercise, right? But we really want to get to that full ground, air, sea scenario, which we can do full mission rehearsals. And then you think about that beyond military capabilities. If you look into police and fire and emergency rescue and any type of training in which you have multiple departments getting to communicate together, not only are you going to be able to see all of this training take place, but the debrief tool on it is something that those fields don't have, right? Okay. And this could be an extraordinary opportunity for them to gain even more insight into the work that needs to be done to keep people safe.
Perfect. Well, that's a good introduction to our next question. Is Red 6 tech currently being used for active military training, or is it still considered to be in research and development?
We're still in R&D. We're still working through contracts through the U.S. military, which are SBIRs, these grants that enable us to integrate with their systems. But we are working through contracts with OEMs. So we contracted with Boeing, so integrating it into the new T7, which is the more advanced trainer that is being created now. So the next generation of Boeing trainers that come out will have the ATAR system as part of it. So it's exciting to see that Boeing and BAE, and we're having conversations with a lot of these commercial manufacturers to understand that that too is a way for us to make sure this technology gets out to those that need it most.
Guys, I can keep going with the questions from the audience. Okay, cool. How long are pilots typically using augmented reality in a session, and do they suffer from any visual sickness?
We have not seen that to take place yet. We train our pilots on the same sorties that they would fly normally in any training scenario. And the way we got, in the beginning, perhaps there was some jitter, right? We've gotten it to a point where it's a really smooth experience, and so our pilots are able to use it the entire sortie.
Perfect. Could you outline any obstacles that Red 6 overcame while reaching their current level of success?
You know, creating an entirely new division of technology is a feat, and finding those that are willing to participate in a community-based team that's going to move fast and scale fast, and finding the financial backing to do so. If you are a startup in the defense space, there is a terminology called the Valley of Death. And it's a really scary problem for tech companies for defense innovation, because most of those companies are going to operate just off of SBIRs, and that procurement process is extremely slow. So unless you're able to augment your finances through commercial development, find any sorts of other income, you might have some of the best technology never see the light of day because they just can't survive that procurement process. Now, there's a lot of interesting ways in which we're trying to fix that. The U.S. military is trying to fix that. I used to be on the economic development side. Now I'm on industry side, but it used to be a big focus of what we were trying to do. How do we help these companies, and that crossover of defense and commercial development at the same time is really critical, because that could be life or death for a company, right? A commercial contract might keep the company afloat while they're going through the procurement process to get into the hands where it's the true purpose of where this can really make a difference for the U.S. military. So it's exciting to see that balance, and here in Central Florida, we have some of the best assets for it. The Naval X program created a place called Tech Grove, where we're able to showcase private industry technology that benefits the U.S. military in a space that's secured. So it's really exciting to see that acceleration, that Orlando's a big part of that acceleration in fixing that procurement issue.
Okay, we're gonna take one last question, because I see the questions keep piling up. It's already, we're already over time. So how will Red 6 evolve in the next 3 to 5 years?
That's an exciting question. I think when you look at the fact that Red 6 just celebrated our 5th birthday as a company, and to see how we went from that's impossible to, oh, in 2 weeks, do you think we could create a Star Wars experience to take the head of R&D Imagineering up, and being able to pull that out? The volume of what this team created in a 5-year span, most people couldn't imagine.
Yeah.
So I get giddy thinking about how in the next 3 to 5 years we'll become a program of record for the U.S. military, and this technology will be in the hands of those that can use it, and it will continue to improve and benefit the United States and the friendly companies that we have with us to be able to benefit the warfighter, and then get it into commercial. I want to have some fun with entertainment. Being able to have a shared physical and unique digital experience at the same time is really exciting to think about the potential of this. But I know the core of this team, we are augmented reality with a purpose, and we're driving forward, and the sky's the limit. Imagination is really the speed of which we're operating on right now.
I love that. I love how you're finishing. It's augmented reality with a purpose. I am all about a purpose for everything. I know entertainment is big, and we're always looking for the users to use the technology. But when it comes to using that technology for a purpose, that's the most important thing. Well, thank you so much,
Thank
Sheena.
you.
I really enjoyed today's episode, and talking with you about this technology. Thank you all for attending and for watching us. I hope you guys enjoyed it as much as we did. Here, this is Dr. Haifa Maamar from Full Sail University. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.